Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone for the Diabetes and Obesity Collaborative Lectureship Series. My name is Qing from the Department of Health Management and Informatics. Today, I'm so pleased to introduce Ms. Qing Ye for today's presentation. Ms. Qing Ye is a graduate research assistant of the Department of Health Management and Informatics. And she's a doctoral candidate of the University of Missouri Informatics Institute. Ms. Ye has a bachelor's degree in preventive medicine and a master's degree in health statistics in China. After completing her degrees, she had worked in the Department of Public Health of Yichang Central People's Hospital in China for 3 years. As her dissertation project, Ms. Ye has been working multiple research studies on improving diabetes self-management via the personalized education. Today, Ms. Ye will present 3 research studies she has been working with her collaborators. The presentation title is the Diabetes Mobile Application Feature Analysis, a focus group study of elderly people, and the clinical note analysis against the 87 principles. Please welcome Ms. Qing Ye.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for coming to my presentation. And the title of my presentation today is Diabetes Mobile Application Feature Analysis, a focus group study of elderly people and the clinical note analysis against the 87.
It's not working. It's on?
Yeah, it's on.
Then it might broke. You need to use the mouse instead, I guess. The mouse.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Diabetes is a disease that gathered much attention these years and is on the rise in today's society. And this graph shows the percent of the total population with diabetes in predicting from 2015 to 2030 in the United States. Although it's increasing prevalence of diabetes, but diabetes patient could live long and healthy if their diabetes is well managed. Diabetes self-management education is important for clinical management of the diabetes. It provides many benefits for the people. For example, it could decrease HbA1c. Also, it encourages the patient to check the blood glucose more frequently. Also, teach the patient how to cope with the stress and depression. Mobile health technology developed very quickly in the past 10 years. It provides self-management support outside of the hospital. In 2017, there were around 300,000 mobile health apps in the app stores. Around 16% of them were diabetes apps. These apps provide features like monitor blood glucose, eating and tracking exercise and medication. In today's presentation, we used the AD7, American Association of Diabetes Educators Self-Care Behavior Guidelines for 2 studies. The AD7 has 7 principles: healthy eating, being active, monitoring, taking medication, problem solving, reducing risk, and healthy coping. AD7 is a guideline suggested by the American Diabetes Association for the Diabetes Self-Management Education Guideline. From previous research, we found 3 gaps. And we don't know whether the current diabetes apps they designed based on evidence-based self-management education guideline. And also we don't know whether current diabetes apps provide acceptable usability for the older users. The next one, we don't know whether the providers provide address all 7 principles from the 87 in the clinical notes when they have their clinical visits with the patient. Today's presentation will be divided into 3 parts. The first one is a feature analysis about diabetes self-management applications against 87. The second one is a focus group study among older people with diabetes. The third one is the clinical clinic notes against 87. For our feature analysis, we aim to find whether the features of the diabetes apps they designed based on the 87 guideline. This slide shows the selection of the diabetes self-management apps. We used 3 search terms, search the iPad App Store and the Google Play Store. We applied the exclusion criteria such as check whether the app is designed for the people with diabetes. Because some apps in the App Store may be designed for the medical students. Then we select eligible diabetes apps and we download and use these apps. This slide shows the example of the one app in the iPad App Store. This is the process of the identification of the diabetes apps. From the beginning, search results now were 1,050 apps from the iOS and the Google Play Store. And after apply the exclusion criteria, then we have the 173 apps in 2015. Because the App Store changed very quickly, and some apps may remove from the App Store and some may not functioning. So we conduct the check the previous eligible apps again, and now were 137 apps left in the research in 2017. Also, we create a code book based on the 87, and this table shows the example of the code from the healthy eating. It's, for example, the counting carbohydrate, monitor eating. We download and use these apps. At the same time, we marked the features of the app based on the code book. Then we count the number of the code. Also, there are some features they showed in the diabetes apps, but they were not appears on the 87 guidelines. So we put them in the other categories. This table shows the number of the apps from the 87 from in 2015 and 2017. We could see that most apps they provide function related to health eating, being active, monitoring, and taking medication. But a few apps they provide features related to problem solving, reducing risk, and healthy coping. From this feature analysis research, we found that there were unbalanced feature development for the diabetes apps. To understand why this happened, so we conducted the interview with the diabetes physicians and diabetes educators, and we got some reasons why it happened. And they suggest that maybe the risk and healthy coping addressed by the diabetes educators. also cognitive information to incorporate into a mobile app is very hard. For example, if the patient have the hypoglycemia and need to put get a problem solving how to deal with this situation, but this function is hard to incorporate into the mobile app. And also there are other more efficient way to reach the same features, such as Google search. They could find some solutions from the Google search. Also, the remind to take medication, they could send a reminder in the calendars. So this is part of the reason why few apps develop the features related to problem solving, reducing risk, and healthy coping. The second research is a focus group study among older people with diabetes when they use the diabetes apps. We aim to find the usability barriers for the diabetes apps for older people. For this study, we recruited 10 participants and the game name questionnaire. We collected the information of their demographic, their diabetes history, and their health history, and the experience of using mobile device and apps. After they finish the questionnaire, we give the diabetes apps for each app. They use the iPad to finish this task. Then they answer questions on the system usability scale. After they finish the scale, then they answer the app-specific questions. After they finish using all the apps, then they answer the open-ended questions. The single item literacy screener is one question for the user to answer to check their health literacy. If the score more than 2, so it will means the user have a difficult reading health-related material. For the diabetes self-managed task, this shows the example. The participant will open the app, then we give them some direction how to record their eating and how to search the food. Then they could save the information, then close the app. For the system usability scale, it's a reliable tool for measuring usability. It consists of the 10 questionnaire, and each one have 5 options from a strong disagree to strong agree. The score ranged from 0 to 100. This slide shows the participant character. We could see that most participants they are older than 65 years old, and most of them are white people, and most of them have never used the diabetes apps before they attend the focus group study.
Can you go back?
Okay.
Type 1 diabetes should be extremely rare in this age group.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. 60%.
Okay.
Yeah, because this process we are not random choose from the participant. We recruit them, so it have the bias of the volunteer bias. So it happens type 1 diabetes have more than type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, but it's rare to see people survive at age 65.
It was convenience sampling,
No, they do.
not random sample. Yeah.
So the sample came from endocrinology clinic then?
Yeah. But because I think each clinician is very clear, it's not a random sample. Therefore, by chance you can get, because it's self-selected, you can get a lot of But usually if you do a sample in a population, you're gonna see a much smaller percentage than 60%. It would be like something perhaps 20, 30% after age 60.
I think when you submit the manuscript, you should give special attention to explaining that because both Dr. Savois and I went. So, yeah, I mean, can be, but
Thank you for the question.
unusual.
But it's the right explanation, right? It's not a sample. It could, anything could happen. It's not really sample. Lucky ones.
Yeah, I have.
After we collect the data from a system usability scale, and we calculate the average score for each app, and we got this table. Based on the SAS score standard, if from 0 to 50, it means the app is not acceptable, and from 51 to 62 is non-functional. For this study, there were 5 apps were not acceptable for the older user.
That's huge. Can you go back? 5 out of 9 apps were not
Acceptable.
good at all. Yeah.
Is this correlated? Is this correlated to the amount of data? Did you try to quantify the amount of data you have to input? And I'm not sure how to do it by clips or something. I mean, I came across this thing recently. Like, I believe that if you ask the person to put more and more data, it will say, I cannot do this.
Yeah, but you only showing 9 apps. I missed something else. Why? Because you end up with much more than 9 apps, right?
Yeah, we only have 10 participants, and we have 2 focus groups, and each focus group uses 5 apps. Because the time limit and the focus group time limitation, if too long, the participant will be tired of using the app.
One more question about the focus group and the 10 people participate, because it's only showing 9, so there's one missing. I forgot what the question was. Shoot.
Sorry, because I
Yes.
derailed you.
No,
Are you gonna tell us then how they, like, what parts of the CES they were?
I remember now. It's actually, since there's only 10 apps represent out of 100 something that you end up with, at least that you evaluate in a good way. Is there a way to tell if these apps are very popular or if they're very rare? You know, because if they are the most popular, then we have a good representation.
That's right. So you could have a column saying, I mean, you know how many people downloaded that, right?
Yeah,
From
the
the App
ranking, yeah.
So you can, hey, it'll be interesting to see if the acceptable, non-acceptable actually links to the how many people downloaded this thing.
Yeah.
You can describe how you selected these apps.
Yeah. Based on the previous, the first research, then we collect 173 apps. Then we checked the ranking and how many people ranking and the ranking score, and based on whether they provide an AD7 principle. If they provide at least 2 principles, then we select them. Then we rank them based on the ranking. We finally choose these 9 apps. So these 9 apps could be considered as a very top diabetes apps in the App Store.
Yeah, so you might want to have a slide.
Yeah.
Because
That'd be nice to say, right, a little bit. Or as I say, these are the most popular apps, and we only had 10 people. That's why we got the 9 apps. So, okay.
Thank you for your suggestion.
That's very poor performance.
Yeah.
And from the questionnaire, there are some questions. So we collect the answer, analyze with the semantic analysis. From the text, we catch some code from the text, then categorize this code into the themes. So we get the themes like complicated, button, easy to use, not useful. For example, the first one, it could be very beneficial if it's less complicated and usable of app. So we get the code less complicated, then transfer it into the same complicated.
Is apps supposed to be FDA approved, or can they be like, can they be used in care and then I seem to remember somebody saying that, oh, our app is FDA approved and it's used, it's reimbursed, you know.
There is nothing like that in the
I seem to
diabetes
remember
apps.
I
They could publish whatever they want, and there is
I
no
understand.
authorized. Yeah.
But I seem to remember a company saying, oh, we have our app, the first app
Endorsed by ADA, American Diabetes Association.
It wasn't,
I know.
he said it was reimbursed by insurance companies, so using it, so, because it proved that it reduces whatever the.
So there's different rules if it's a medical device, so if there's something that connects to the app, but a straight app without any.
Remember
I
the
don't remember-
facts.
I don't remember the name of this.
That remember the federal government, the national, the Department of Health and Human Services created a commission about 12 years ago to evaluate every possible health-related app. And within a year, they have to dismantle because the enormous amount of apps coming out, there's no way they could, have, even if they have 1,000 people scrutinizing and reviewing app, they couldn't just keep up. So they eliminated that commission, and I can bring the documentation with you. This is just for apps.
Okay, so then,
Think about all the other health apps out there.
forget about the FDA approved, but the insurance reimbursed. So this is just the insurance can,
I think it's
if
a
they
good
want to
market.
reimburse for it.
I don't think insurance are reimbursing for apps right now.
I see, that's what I'm saying, that those guys were claiming that the first app, because they did the, some clinical trials and they proved it's effective. So, and then they were claiming, I mean, that was like 5 years ago, so if you don't know anything about it, they probably, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't
we
make
can
it.
find out. It's not part of the research yet, I think, but that's an interesting question to ask. If an insurance company approves, that means they have belief that thing is
That's right.
beneficial.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard. Usually they don't approve even things that are pretty obvious they're good. They're pretty tough on approving stuff. I doubt. The good news is that we have data to show that a lot of people are using apps. Not all the HIT that we reviewed, those two meta-analyses, one for diabetes, another one for cardiovascular in diabetic patient. I would say 50% of the intervention use some apps, some kind of apps, but combined with something else. It's never alone. I don't think it was never ever a group of intervention trials that it was alone the apps. It was always combined with something else. But they're using. That's a good news, and they're having impact on the IT as a whole. But this question of doubt about if it's really the app that's making the impact. Have to look more carefully where that's set.
Yeah, from the focus group study, we get some key findings. Under the patient, the participant like the features, easy of monitoring data like blood glucose and exercise, and also they prefer to use some apps provide knowledge of their health about diabetes education, and also they like to use an app with a function about setting goals. For the usability, we found that usability is a main concern for the older users, but the current diabetes apps didn't provide acceptable usability. The third study is a clinical notes against the AD7 diabetes self-management education guideline. We want to know whether the diabetes providers they address the AD7 in a clinical note during the patient visit. For current diabetes self-management education, there have some barriers based on the CDC's data in from 2011 to 2012. almost 100,000 persons were new diagnosed diabetes, but only 6.8% of them attended diabetes education in the first year. Also, in a clinical visiting, it's have limited time for the diabetes physicians to have enough time to communicate with the patient. So the clinical notes provide potential material to educate the patient. This slide shows the screenshot of the clinical note. It including like chef compass, history of present areas, physical exam assessment, and pens. We used the Power Insight to search the data. We applied inclusion criteria, selected the data, patient data from 2017, and adults who visit the diabetes center. We random from the after applied inclusion criteria, we random choose the 200 patients. Then we applied the exclusion criteria. Then we selected the first 100 eligible patients. Then we connected the patient clinical data from the Power Chat. We connected the two sections from the clinical note: history of present illness and impression and the pen, because these two sections are the diabetes providers may record the past diabetes self-management material and suggestions for self-management suggestions for the diabetes patients. In this study, we also create a code book based on AD7. This shows the example of the code book from the monitoring. There are two reviews. We coded and reviewed the clinical notes based on the code book. Then we have three members for the study group. Random choose 10% of the clinical notes. Then review this code to enhance the accuracy of the coding process. Finally, we count the accuracy of the code and apply the statistical to try to find whether there are some difference of the number of code among the gender and the age group.
Is that a gender age group of patient or the physician?
On the patient.
Okay.
Yeah. For now, we already connected 80 patients. So the following data are coming from the 80 patients. We could see there are more people younger than 65 years old, and the male and the female is almost half. And we calculate the total number of the two codes because we connected two clinical notes for each patient, and we count the total numbers. This slide shows the for each 7 principal section, and it shows the medium and minimum max. This is a minimum maximum, and this is the first quartile, and this is the third quartile. This is first quartile, and outliers of the number of the code. And I divided history of present illness and impression and pain as two parts.
Can you go back?
Okay.
These are the actual numbers, 0, 5, 10, 15.
Yeah, the number of
patient.
code.
Okay, so you have how many patients back then?
80.
80. So
Yeah.
let's say it would be a perfect world. You expect each one of those, healthy eating and everything to be about 80 for everything, right? Is that mine? I'm trying to understand.
It's per patient.
Per
It's per
patient.
patient.
Oh, it's per patient.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should made an average per, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
per
you
patient.
have-
Oh, it's in the title.
And 70 cases.
I thought it was the whole data. But that's the average for per patient. Okay.
And this graph shows the average number of the total codes per patient by section, history of present areas, and impression on the plan. This is the average number of the code.
So what's your expectation here? Is it good or bad?
This is a description of how many.
I understand, but is that, I don't understand. I don't know anything about this. So you tell me if you expect it to have that many or some of them are underrepresented and some of them are overrepresented.
Yeah, we expected the number of the codes is almost a similar average, a similar
Should
number.
be balanced. Yeah.
Balanced, yeah. So we run a classical wellness test to check whether these 7 principles are balanced. Their average number are almost similar, based on their assumption, because based on assumption of the one-way ANOVA, it's not a normal distribute. So we use this test method. And the result shows in the history of present areas, the average number of the 7 principles of the code are not statistical, it's different in statistical test.
But don't you think that these are different depending on the patient? So if somebody is overweight, you will probably talk a lot about, I don't know, healthy eating. If somebody's normal weight, you wouldn't just mention. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anything, but I think the better woman here could
Yeah.
because you probably have a personalized, right?
Yeah.
You don't say the same thing to everybody. Just to be healthy, be active, more. You just say, hey, you kind of are. Make sure you watch your diet. I'm saying that.
Yeah, but can you
Practice better.
can you please go back 2 slides? Because go back to this one. So this is the code that you expect to see in a patient. The data you have is good, but I'm suggesting there might be other global ways to look into that. So in a perfect world, what would you expect? So an app to show about monitoring. You show each one of those items. So for monitoring, there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items.
This example, the more than 10 is not continued. I just pick up some examples from one to
So how many of that? That's what I'm saying. Or at least you could say prioritize, say at least those things they should mention. So that creates an expectation that you compare to. So you don't need great statistical analysis. You just say this is the expectation based on clinical, and this is how much on average each patient reach for that component. You with me? So in that way, you have a difference between what you see and what is expected. That's what Dr. Professor was saying. Because this is more clear. It's not so much the statistics, it's what do you expect for monitoring? What is the critical thing for monitoring for a diabetic patient? If it's type 1 or type 2, and that's what you need to prioritize. Say those 4 items, at least those need to be there. And then on average, you only find 2 items. Globally, you have 83 patients. You only found 160 items. Should have been 320. So you can have a global, you can have an average per patient. It doesn't matter. But you create an expectation. You with me? Right now, I read that. One expectation you have, they're all should be about the same. They're not. That's you can extract that from that analysis bit. But what you cannot extract is it right or wrong? And that's what Dr. Popescu is saying. If you said These are the top priorities for monitoring based on the code, based on the AEs, AD. So then you know that you need to have at least that per patient on average. You with me? Anybody follow what I'm saying here?
Right.
Yeah. Or at least you should have some comparison like relative, right? So I would probably look at type 1 guys versus type 2 guys. Is there a difference? Just to learn something. I mean, I don't know. Just because relative you can compare.
Yeah.
Absolute values for me don't say anything.
Yeah, these are minor things you can
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can do that. It's nothing wrong. It's just I'm saying to kind of make it more nuanced. And then if you ask me, I'll try to get regular patients to kind of compare. Say, oh, see, for regular patients, you don't say that if there is difference, like kind of at the same age, like,
For
so
the
you
data,
have to say something.
let's focus on the data
Yeah,
they have.
sure.
Data they have. No, this is
Right.
good data.
Right.
What I'm
So
saying is
just
that
slice and dice this.
when I go to the table, to the graph that you showed, I was confused until I read the title carefully. And then the graph, they're telling you a story, but it's not the total story.
Right.
Okay? So with the data you have, I would add another analysis, which is basically create an expectation, and that multiplied by 83 patients or the average patient, you know how much of each domain of the AED expressed in the notes should be there. So you create an expectation what it should be there.
Do they have the BMI?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
So you could do high BMI and normal, and that would be pretty cool because then you will see hopefully the guy with high BMI more.
Maybe
right?
I'm being too evasive. Let's give an example here. On this first list that you have there, for instance, monitor blood sugar level. That's a minimum. They have to have that. Okay? Set goes for blood sugar. If the doctor didn't say that to the patient, how can they know when they're off or not, or when they will need to go over time? Okay? So those two plus maybe they cannot monitor eye health, but for the patient for food health exam, no. Learn how, if they are given a glucometer, but we don't know if all of them are given, so learn tips of capacities, a way to monitor, learn when to check. So those three, just on this set here, learn when to check, monitor blood sugar level, and set goes for blood sugar. This is critical, and provide knowledge of blood sugar. Those four over there, 3.3, 2.6, is critical for a primary care doctor to tell a patient.
Another way of
Dr. Cooper can get an idea here too. So once we got that, and let's say you go over all the codes for monitoring, and you say these are the 4 top ones. So now you have an expectation for every patient should have 4. So if the average is 1.5 with a confidence interval between 3 and 0, they're off. They're off the expectation. They're pretty awful.
Right. So another way of presenting the data is not in absolute value, but in relative value, right? So let's say you coded 30 codes of a node, and you say 10% is weight, 10% is blood sugar, right? So you could look, because some doctors could be pretty short and will have 3 items, whereas some other would have 20 items. So then that might actually normalize your data in a different way. So that would set the expectation, right? Like Dr. Simoy is saying, what's the average? So what's the average number you would expect? You would expect, let's say, 10 nodes, 10 terms per node. And out of that, you expect 10% to be, so the average profile, right? 10% to be blood sugar.
You can do all of that in terms of percentage.
Right. So you have to look at the data to slice and dice it a little bit to kind of come up with, so what? Maybe you find something to do that. Because in the average, it doesn't show us the.
Yeah, I would have gone like that. That's a suggestion. I'm not saying, we dropped into watch. Go on. I can see. Go on. And then
You didn't let me say something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Dr. Kumar is usually.
So I'm thinking that the type 2, type 1 diabetes, as you said, and you said, really makes a difference here, because monitoring blood sugar levels is critical for patients with type 1 diabetes and should be discussed at every visit. Whereas if you have a patient with controlled type 2 diabetes who is only on 1 oral agent, you should almost never discuss monitoring blood sugar level. I mean, it's not necessary for them to monitor them. even daily. So at least that's the way we approach it in primary care.
Which means that that assumption that a good standard is all of them are the same is probably not right.
Right,
That's
We
right.
need input from a clinician to say,
That's right.
what is good management? How can you measure good management in these notes? Probably equal time on all possible education is not good
That's
management.
right, that's right. So you could get some expert input.
The thing is,
What would be the expectation, and then you can make that to be.
we haven't not finalized the analysis
Understand,
yet,
understand.
and then
That's what we suggest.
We're
Yeah.
trying to make
We-
You have the data, that's a good news. You have
we
the
show
data.
the
Going
example
to
analysis for now. We
Yeah,
haven't
but-
just finalized the data collection yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and Wednesday we
Yeah,
reached the
Wednesday,
100
yeah,
notes.
right,
yeah.
We have 2 endocrinologists.
No, we're not criticizing, we're trying to be constructive.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's important to remind you, this is patients going to the diabetic center. So they are specialists. So they're not the primary care doctor. Maybe they'll be a little bit more rigorous.
Right, so they won't have people who are controlled on one agent,
Exactly.
hopefully. That would be a waste of
They will have a
time.
little bit more aggressive type of diabetic patient. So that explains the difference. However, again, these are just suggestions for you have the data, you have the right code. It's how to analyze it. I would love to help you, okay? And it's very simple. Actually, you can just do proportion. You can do simple test for proportion. We can see that. Create an expectation so you know what, because we're doing clinical. This is not just operation health showing statistics that what is right clinically, you know? And you already have an expectation based on the theory, but you're expressing that in the analytical work. You create an expectation for each domain, monitoring, educating, so on and so forth. And then you're gonna see what you observe, which is the data you have, versus the expectation, which can be created a priori. You create the expectation a priori, say, I'd like to have 5 of those 15 things about monitoring, all is there. Multiplied by 80 people, you can do it all global, you don't even need to do average, you know? And you see your expectation, and you're not seeing that. And you can see the gap between it, just a simple bar, like you have in the other. Okay? That's my recommendation, but let's move on because we already dropped this too.
For this test, I also do a triple comparison. For example, it shows being active and healthy coping. These 2 number of codes have no statistical difference. And similar in the impression and the pain sections, the being active and healthy coping, this number of codes in impression and the pain have no statistical difference. And also we compared the number of codes by gender, by male and female. This slide shows the average number of total codes per patient by gender. And also I ran an independent t-test. I compared gender by section to compare it by 7 principles. So I ran a test 7 times in history and present areas. And I didn't find the report shows no statistical difference between male and female in the number of the total codes in both history and present areas and impression in these 2 sections. But we could see that the monitoring is appears the most, and being active and healthy coping are the least of the number of codes. This slide shows the average number of codes compared by the age group. We separate the age group as 65 years and 6 years old and above. So the similar, we run the independent t-test, and in both 2 sections, the number of codes by each group have no statistical difference. So from the currently diabetes and clinical note research, we found that monitoring was mentioned the most in the clinical notes. And the being active and healthy coping were mentioned in the list. And we just compared gender and age. We didn't find the number of code difference between the age and the gender.
Sure. Again, your key point is exemplified why our discussion was so important for you, Lectureship, and Dr. Kim, our colleague here, is that this is important to know that monitoring was the most mentioned. But it's just one piece of information, you can extract more. So what do you expect the notes to be? Do you expect the note to be an opportunity for teaching? I read my notes, but I'm a doctor. I don't know if all patients read their notes, but maybe it's something that you're thinking. Maybe it can be used in the future for the K patient more. Well, monitoring was mentioned the most. Good. Monitoring is important, but is it less or more important than the other? What do you know about the other items? What do you know about monitoring? Is that the level expected for a teaching in moment or teach opportunity? That information isn't there. It can only be there if you compare what you found, what you would expect. Okay? So if the clinical note is supposed to be a teaching endeavor or an opportunity for people to self-learn, so you need to create that expectation for your data. You have the codes. You either multiply every code for monitoring. Okay, that's what you expect. 10 codes. And if not 10, if it's 2 or 3 or 4, it's below par. It's below what you expect. It's not good. Or you can say, these are the most critical if a patient is type 1, if a patient is type 2. Okay, or equally, because they're always coming from specialized clinic, all the patients are more or less serious. So you do more or less equally all of them. So you say, these are my expectations, those 5 or 6 or 7 items in monitoring needs to be there for every patient, but the average for patients is 2. Okay, it's not 6 or 5. So we're in trouble here. We say this is not ideal, so there's a gap between expect. So you do a chi-square for proportion. Okay, so observe minus expect divided by multiply square. That's your gap chi-square. But you can do that sequentially. You find out where your gap is for each domain, and then the key finding become more informative as an opportunity for a self management and learning opportunity for patient. The main gaps for clinical notes in the physicians here are these topics. Okay, maybe monitor is not one of them. It looks like it was very high bar, so maybe people were getting good ideas about monitoring on average, but missing on the other domains. You follow that rationale here?
Yeah, so you finish your presentation.
Not yet.
Not yet. So you can go in. Yeah, I give my question already.
Thank you. So from this study, we found unbalanced facial development in compared with the 87 self-management education guideline, and few apps they provide features related to problem solving, reducing risk, and healthy coping. From the focus group study, we found that the usability is the main concern for the older users, but current diabetes apps didn't provide acceptable usability. For the clinical notes research, we found that diabetes physicians mainly focus on the monitoring, the being active and healthy coping were not addressed in the clinical notes. In the future direction, we hope the diabetes app development could consider the diabetes self-management education guidelines when they develop the app. And also it's better to follow the user interface design recommendation for older people to provide acceptable usability for older users. And for the clinical note research, we hope that diabetes physicians could provide balanced diabetes education during the patient visit. This research funding coming from the Center of the Diabetes Translation Research, and also thanks Dr. Kim, Dr. Ken, Dr. Boren to provide guidance to this research. And thanks Dr. Simoris to support and provide the privileges to let me attend this research. And thanks Facto to help the clinical note analyze and the coding process. And thanks Katie and Terry to provide the support to get the clinical note data. These are the publication and presentation from these three research. And we are preparing the clinical note analyze manuscript, and after we done the data analyze, we will submit to the journal. Thank you. That's all my presentation.